When my grandfather turned 85, his doctor ran a full panel of blood work and sat there staring at the results for a while. His cholesterol was normal. His blood sugar was steady. His blood pressure was the kind of number you would expect from a man 20 years younger. The doctor asked him what he ate. My grandfather told him, 2 eggs, rye bread with butter, oatmeal, and black coffee every morning. For decades. The doctor paused and said he should not change a thing. 9 years later, my grandfather was still eating that breakfast. He died at 94, not from heart disease, not from diabetes, not from any of the things that breakfast was supposedly going to cause. And I have spent a long time wondering whether the boring routine everyone made fun of was actually the smartest health decision he ever made. This video is not really about my grandfather. He was one man with one breakfast. That is an anecdote, not evidence. But what I found when I started pulling at this thread is that his instinct, the same meal, same time, same plate, every single day, lines up with a growing body of research that the modern wellness industry either does not know about or does not want you to hear. Because the answer it points to does not sell supplements, cookbooks, or meal plans. The answer is boring. And boring might be exactly what your body wants. To understand why, you have to look at what breakfast actually was before our generation got its hands on it. How did we end up believing that breakfast needs to be different every morning? Go back 70 years and the idea of rotating your breakfast would have sounded absurd. In the 1940s and 1950s, most American families ate the same breakfast every single day. Eggs, toast, oatmeal, maybe some fruit if it was in season. The meal was not a decision. It was a habit, as automatic as brushing your teeth. Nobody stood in front of an open refrigerator at 6 in the morning agonizing over whether today was a smoothie day or an avocado toast day or a protein pancake day. That changed when the food industry figured out that breakfast was an under-monetized meal. Lunch and dinner already had variety built in, but breakfast was stubbornly repetitive, which meant families were buying the same cheap staples every week. There was no money in eggs and oatmeal. The margins were terrible. So the cereal companies went first. Kellogg's and General Mills did not just sell cereal. They sold the idea that breakfast should be fun, exciting, different. They created dozens of varieties and told families that rotating between them was part of a balanced diet. Television commercials showed happy children pouring a different, brightly colored cereal every morning of the week, and the message was clear. Variety equals health. Repetition equals laziness. Then came the breakfast bar companies, the yogurt brands, the frozen waffle makers, the smoothie mix sellers. Each one needed you to believe that eating the same thing every morning was boring, nutritionally incomplete, and a sign that you were not taking your health seriously. Every few years, the right breakfast changed completely, and every change generated billions of dollars for someone. By the 1990s, the transformation was complete. Breakfast had gone from the simplest meal of the day to the most complicated. Americans were spending more time, more money, and more mental energy on their first meal than any generation in history, and they were getting sicker, not healthier. The answer does not live in what people eat for breakfast. It lives in how consistently they eat it. In 2018, researchers at Osaka University in Japan published a study that tracked the eating habits of over 70,000 adults for 15 years. That is not a small sample, and it is not a short timeline. What they found was striking. The people who ate meals at consistent times every day, and particularly those who ate similar foods at those consistent times, had significantly lower rates of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and all-cause mortality compared to people with irregular eating patterns. The key variable wasn't the nutritional content of the food, it was the regularity. Your body runs on a circadian clock, and that clock doesn't just govern when you feel sleepy or alert, it governs digestion. Your pancreas starts producing insulin at predictable times based on when it has learned to expect food. Your liver adjusts bile production on a schedule. Your gut microbiome calibrates itself around the timing and composition of your meals. When you eat the same breakfast at the same time every day, your body gets ahead of the process. Digestive enzymes are ready before the food arrives. Insulin response is measured and efficient. Nutrient absorption is optimized because every system involved knows exactly what's coming and exactly when to expect it. When you eat something different every morning, your body goes into reactive mode. It has to figure out what you just ate, how to break it down, how much insulin to release. That reactive process creates metabolic stress. Not a lot, not enough to notice on any given day, but compounded over years and decades, it adds up. The Japanese study wasn't an outlier. Research from Harvard, from the University of Barcelona, from King's College London, all point in the same direction. Meal regularity, especially at breakfast, correlates with better metabolic health, better body weight management, and longer life. Now, correlation isn't causation. Researchers are careful to say that. But when the pattern shows up across different cultures, different diets, and different genetic populations, it starts to look less like a coincidence and more like a biological signal. And that signal gets even louder when you look at the places where people live the longest. In the early 2000s, researcher Dan Buettner identified 5 regions around the world where people consistently live past 90 and often past 100. He called them blue zones: Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, Ikaria in Greece, Nicoya in Costa Rica, and Loma Linda in California. These places became the gold standard for longevity research, and for good reason. The concentration of centenarians in these communities is 10 times higher than in the general population. Most of the attention went to what these centenarians ate: plant-heavy diets, legumes, olive oil, red wine in moderation, and those dietary components do matter. But buried in the research was another pattern that got almost no media coverage. The centenarians in every single blue zone ate the same breakfast. Not the same as each other. A fisherman in Okinawa did not eat the same food as a shepherd in Sardinia, but within their own lives, each of these long-lived individuals ate a nearly identical breakfast every single morning for decades. The Okinawan centenarians ate miso soup with rice and vegetables every day. The Sardinian centenarians ate flatbread with olive oil and local cheese every day. The Icarian centenarians drank mountain tea with honey and ate bread with tomatoes every day. When Buettner's team interviewed these people, they were not following a longevity protocol. They were not reading nutrition research. They ate the same breakfast because it was what their mothers ate and their grandmothers before them. It was simply what morning meant. The idea of choosing breakfast did not exist in their vocabulary. Researchers became fixated on specific foods, on the antioxidants in miso, the polyphenols in olive oil, the flavonoids in mountain tea. Those things probably matter. But they missed the forest for the trees. The common denominator across all 5 blue zones was not a specific ingredient. It was the power of repetition. My grandfather never heard of a blue zone. He just ate 2 eggs and rye bread every morning because that is what he liked, and he saw no reason to change. It turns out that might be the most blue zone thing a person can do. If you're finding this interesting, hit subscribe. I break down overlooked health and longevity science every week. There's another angle to this that has nothing to do with digestion or metabolism, and it might be the most important one of all. Even if you do not care about circadian biology or blue zone centenarians, this next part affects you every single morning, whether you realize it or not. In 1998, psychologist Roy Baumeister published research on what he called ego depletion, which most people now know as decision fatigue. The concept is simple. Your brain has a limited supply of willpower and decision-making energy each day. Every choice you make, no matter how small, draws from that supply. By the time you have made 50 or 60 decisions, your ability to make good ones deteriorates significantly. Most people do not realize how many decisions they make before they even leave the house. What to wear, what to eat, whether to exercise, how to respond to that email. Each one costs something. And breakfast in the modern kitchen has become one of the most decision-heavy moments of the entire day. Should you have eggs or yogurt? If eggs, scrambled or fried? If yogurt, Greek or regular? What about toppings? Should you add protein? Are you doing intermittent fasting today? Wait, is that still considered healthy? Maybe just coffee. But what kind of milk? Oat milk? Almond? Regular? Is regular milk bad now? That internal negotiation eats willpower before you have accomplished a single meaningful thing. And it happens every morning. 365 times a year, for decades. People who eat the same breakfast every day skip that entire process. The decision is already made. Their willpower stays full for the decisions that actually matter. Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day for the same reason. Barack Obama limited himself to gray or blue suits. These are not quirks. They are strategies for preserving cognitive resources. My grandfather never read a study about decision fatigue. He just did not see the point of thinking about breakfast when there were more important things to think about. Same meal, same chair, same time. Done. Move on to something that matters. What makes this even more interesting is something scientists call the cephalic phase. It describes your body's ability to prepare for food before you take the first bite. When you smell coffee brewing, your stomach starts producing acid. When you see toast being made, your salivary glands activate. When you hear the sound of eggs cracking into a pan, a sound your body has heard every morning for years, an entire cascade of preparatory responses fires up. Your body is preparing the complete digestive assembly line based on cues from your environment and from past experience with those cues. When you eat the same breakfast every morning, your body gets exceptionally good at this preparation phase. The moment you walk into the kitchen, before you have cracked a single egg, your digestive system is already calibrating. Enzyme production ramps up, bile is released in the right quantity, and your insulin response is primed to handle exactly the amount of glucose it has learned to expect. When you eat something unfamiliar, that preparation phase is weaker or absent. Your body has to react instead of anticipate. The insulin response can overshoot or undershoot. Enzyme production is off, and nutrient absorption suffers. Not dramatically, not dangerously, but consistently, day after day, year after year. Over 40 years, my grandfather gave his body approximately 14,600 identical breakfasts. His digestive system became a machine built specifically for that meal. Every enzyme, every hormone response, every metabolic pathway was trained through decades of repetition to handle that exact combination of nutrients with maximum efficiency. Compare that to someone who eats something different every morning. Their body never gets to optimize. It is always guessing, always adjusting, always in reactive mode. 14,600 first dates with breakfast instead of a 40-year marriage. Now I want to be honest about the limits of this argument. Eating the same breakfast every day is not a magic longevity pill. My grandfather also walked 2 miles every day, slept 8 hours a night, and had a strong social circle. You cannot isolate one variable from a 94-year life and declare it the cause. There are also legitimate nutritional arguments for dietary variety. If your chosen breakfast is nutritionally empty, consistency just means you are consistently malnourished. The research supports meal consistency, not meal rigidity at the expense of nutrition. My grandfather's breakfast happened to be nutritionally solid. He got protein from eggs, complex carbohydrates from oatmeal and rye bread, and healthy fats from butter. He landed on a good combination by instinct, and then never left it. And the studies show correlations, not definitive causal proof. But when the pattern shows up across different cultures, different diets, and different genetic populations, it starts to look less like a coincidence and more like something your body is trying to tell you. What the evidence does suggest is that the modern obsession with breakfast variety is not helping people live longer. The decision fatigue, the metabolic unpredictability, the constant anxiety about whether you are eating the right thing, all of it adds friction to a meal that used to be the simplest part of the day. If you are wondering who benefits from that friction, the answer is obvious. The food industry profits when breakfast is complicated. When you need a new product every month, a new trend every season, a new superfood every year. They do not make money when you eat eggs and toast every morning for 4 decades. That is why you will never see a marketing campaign telling you to just pick a breakfast and stick with it. There is no revenue in that advice. Every January, a new breakfast protocol emerges, each one requiring new products, new ingredients, new habits, and each one eventually replaced by the next trend. The entire breakfast economy is built on your dissatisfaction with what you ate yesterday. But that might be the single best piece of nutrition guidance most people will ever hear. Find a breakfast that is nutritious, that you enjoy, that is easy to prepare, and then eat it every morning for the rest of your life. Stop thinking about it. Stop optimizing it. Stop reading articles about whether eggs are good this year or bad this year. Pick it, eat it, and redirect all that mental energy towards something that actually matters. It does not have to be my grandfather's breakfast. It could be Greek yogurt with nuts and berries. It could be avocado toast with a fried egg. It could be a bowl of steel-cut oats with banana. The specific food matters far less than the act of choosing once and then never choosing again. The magic is not in the eggs or the oatmeal. The magic is in the removal of the decision. My grandfather's doctor told him not to change a thing. He was 85 with the blood work of a 60-year-old. He followed that advice for 9 more years. Same eggs, same rye bread with butter, same oatmeal, same black coffee, same chair at the same table at the same time every morning. He never called it a longevity strategy. He never called it anything. It was just breakfast. And maybe that is the point. The healthiest relationship you can have with breakfast is one where you do not have to think about it at all.